G'day team, Phil Britton here from Martial Arts Business Success, and I'm here for our fourth and final podcast with the amazing Dave Kovar, and as always, my business partner in crime, Graham McDonald. Maybe I was going to call him something different then, but no one will ever know. Well, we've got a great topic here as our fourth and final one. What is the difference between success and failure? Are there some common threads that Dave's seen in his illustrious career as a martial arts practitioner, coach, someone who's been around the world and really see probably, in my minds, probably seen more about martial arts schools and instructors and students than I ever have, probably ever will, and same for you as well. But there's got to be some sort of common threads between the successful people and the people who aren't quite so successful or potentially failing in business.
Right. So, it's an interesting question because we had a seminar a couple of days ago, and we had a bunch of people here, right? And I looked around the room and I asked, how many guys are having your best year ever? And there was 43 people in the room, okay, representing about 25 schools, something like that. 15 hands went up. It's meaning, half the room is having their best year ever in 2016. I thought that was really cool. Then I asked how many guys are having a pretty good year, and almost every hand went up. There was a few that didn't, okay, which tells me, well, why? Because these guys are all proactive. They're spending their Friday, Saturday, showing up and know what I mean, learning, right? And then there's another network that I'm involved in, and that they're really good martial artists, but they're kind of old school, and and I'm not involved with them in a business sense. They actually every now and then ask me to talk at their events. But I love these guys. I've known them forever, and all these guys are just telling me how terrible the economy is. How they can't yada yada yada, right? And as I was talking in the car, they fiercely defend their mediocrity. They like. And I have this one guy. He's a friend of mine. I love the guy. He's a solid martial artist, mediocre teacher. But he'll tell you, I've had a school for 32 years. I have 32 years of experience teaching. He really doesn't. He has 1 year that he's repeated 32 times. So I think the difference between success and failures is first off, kind of what I see in schools that are successful versus that aren't. And by the way, there are schools that are mediocre that are still in business, but the reason why they're still in business is the guy has a full-time day job, or their dad owns the building, or their wife has a good job. Yeah. If you're going to support your family teaching martial arts, you have to friggin' be good. Yeah. In the States, I don't know how it is in Australia, I'm guessing it's the same. There was a time when we could be mediocre and still be successful, but those days are long gone. Yeah. You just can't friggin' do it anymore.
Look, this is actually something we discussed not so long ago with the changing climate and getting clients and people coming in more educated. Yeah. You can't be substandard. You can't just be okay. You've got to really bring your A game.
And it's kind of like the classic quote, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra, right? Yeah. The enemy of excellence is good enough, right? All those things. But they're not just words. You see them and it really make a difference. And so back to success versus failure, first off, is the mentality of being open and receptive, right? Not being afraid to fail, because really have you ever failed? We all know, and it's going to happen in the future. But it sounds so cliche. But you keep swinging, man. You keep getting up, right? And so that's what I see is a kind of a tenacity. Successful people are generally not afraid to take some chances, not afraid to take some risks, and hopefully they learn from those, right? And then also you kind of have to. You are responsible for your business. I'm responsible for my business. You can't put that on anything else. And I see guys that are maybe failing, based on the terms we're using, is they're telling you all the reasons why it's not their fault. You hear it all the time. Well, that doesn't happen in my town. They can't do it over here. Or the factory just closed, and the economy, the unemployment rate's higher than it's ever been. And, all that could be true. That could all be true. Yeah. But, there's not a friggin' thing you can do about it. That's right. So what you do is, in that environment, what are you going to, if you're not going to give up, then quit friggin' whining about it and roll your sleeves, right? Yeah. Don't use that as a crutch. So, because we've all experienced that. And so, as Tony Robbins says, stand guard at the door of your mind. Like, if you're worried about the economy and that affects you, friggin' quit watching the news. Yeah. Right? You know what I'm saying? Just ignore it, because if the unemployment rate is 12%, guess what that means? 88% of the people are still working.
That's right.
So you have a market shrunk a little bit. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? And then the other thing is that really have a friggin' program that's worth paying the money for. Stephen Covey says you can't talk yourself out of a situation you behaved yourself into.
Yes.
Right? and the deal is that if your classes are only mediocre or pretty good,
that's right.
To me, it always starts on the mat. With a instructor-student relationship, and is that if it's not A+, why not?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if it's B+, I get it. Maybe you just lost an instructor, someone's on vacation, somebody's filling in. You can have a little low point. Yeah. Maybe you shouldn't, but I understand it. But if it's consistently B+, you're going to have a hard time being successful. Yeah. So you always focus on making that mat great.
It's great that you say that. I know that's something that myself and Phil do, and especially with their staff, is there's a situation that's occurred. We talk about the 1 forward, 3 back. In other words, you may point at that result, but you've got to look back at yourself and think, okay, how did I create this? What happened? Did I do this? Rather than blame.
Yeah.
That's the result.
I like it.
But let's look back at yourself and go, what did I do or what did I not do that got me to that point? And how can I make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yeah, that's really good.
I just want to pull out two standouts from listening to Dave here speak. Is one, it's okay to fail.
Yeah,
and I'll say it before Graham does, because he's the king of quotes. Is the acronym is first attempt in learning.
Okay.
And failure is only failure unless you don't learn from it. So that's one. And the second thing I picked up was more from NLP is cause and effect.
Yeah.
Is that there's the people that in the world that are on the side of effect, and they're blaming everyone and anything around them for the reason they are where they are.
Yes, sir.
And then there's the smaller population, the more successful people who are at cause. Now, not that they may have caused the economy drop or may have caused something else, but if you come from a mindset of cause, then you're going to take more ownership of the position you're in, therefore take charge on what's the next steps as well. So that were two takeaways there that I got. So, Dave, have you got anything else in a way of, I guess, sort of, in your time that you've travelled around? Yeah. Some other failure points or things that people should be.
I think that there's also just the time factor. You gotta. I'm amazed by how many people are complaining about their school not doing well, and they don't show up until 10 minutes before class, and they leave right after. Right? It's like I know you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's all that prep time, and honestly. You may get to a point where you can check in and you have your team running, and you know what I mean, and you don't have to work very hard. But you have to work your ass off for a really long time to get there. If you're going to be self-employed, it's you only have to work half days, right? The first 12 hours or the second 12 hours. And the bottom line is you got to put in the time. And a lot of guys aren't willing, and you got to be willing to be like stuff like for me, like I'm not exaggerating, well over 1,000 school assemblies in my career. I don't do much anymore, but 70 to 100 a year for years and years, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how many times I'm going to a school assembly and it's 8 a.m. and I know I'm gonna have a bunch of rowdy kids and you know the drill, and it's all good. Once I'm there, I'm always happy I did it. But on the way there, and I had this mantra that I heard: successful people will do what unsuccessful people won't. Yeah. Successful people will do what unsuccessful people won't. And that kind of gets me there. That gets me out of bed. And once I get there, it's once I kind of turn it on, hey, I leave, I'm always glad I did, right? Yeah, but so it goes back to what we talked about in one of the earlier discussions, that is the ability to be self-driven, have self-discipline and introspective, and our ability to get ourselves to do what we know we should, and spend more time working on our business than in the business.
Yeah. Wow, look, some brilliant stuff there. And I know that we talk about success and failure, but really we're looking at habits, successful habits to set yourself up. And knowing Phil all too well, what he does in the mornings, if he wants to get a workout in, he gets up before the sun's up and make sure that fits into that day. And that's a successful habit, that trait. Something we always do for us is continually learning, continually assessing where we're at and then improving and self-checking and whatnot. And, blame is definitely something that we don't entertain. We look at results and think, right, how can we improve this stuff? And there's going to be things that take into factors that are out of your control, as we just discussed, but it's creating the successful habits and the belief, as you pointed out before, belief that you can accomplish anything and that you're in it for the right reasons. So, any other habits that you guys have seen?
Well, I think what you just said, the quality of your life is in direct relationship with the quality of the habits and routines and rituals that you have in place. And, I always tell people, man, and I do it with myself, probably not as much as I should, but it is to really analyze my day from dawn to dusk. What habits? And, there's the quote is, good habits are easy to make but hard to live with. Bad habits are hard to make but easy to live with. Right? And so, are the habits you have in place? And by the way, the line is very blurred between our personal and our professional habits in our career. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Like training this morning. Is that playtime? Is that professional? Is that, line? Who knows? It's all the above, right? And so, is what I'm doing on a regular day basis going to help me get to where I want to do?
Yeah.
And I think that I'm amazed by the disconnect that really smart people have between their habits and their success.
Yeah. I think you've definitely got to align, and we are in. I guess we are in a specific industry. We're doing what we love. A lot of us were just students of martial arts. We didn't go, I want to be in business.
Right.
We have degrees on our belts, but not in business.
Right.
So we turn our passion into something that's profitable because we think we'll be able to train more. Therefore, our training drops off, and then we think running a business is check in, check out. But, at the end of the day, you've got to have all the habits. Are you eating right? Are you sleeping right? Are you getting up earlier if you have to? Are you working on your business? Are you getting stuck in the business? So I guess my sort of takeaway is to have a bit of a snapshot of your day, your week, your month, your year. And I would ask you to ask yourself, is this the type of day that I want to live? Is this the type of week, month or year that I want to have in my life? And if it's not, you got to have some changes because, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. I think we may have a little bit of a quote off, and Graham is the king of quotes, but I think Kyoshi Dave Kovar may have a few more up his sleeve than Graham does. So.
Look, there's some brilliant ones there. I know that there's one that we take on board a lot. Okay, you say this yourself, take care of the does.
And the ewes take care of themselves. Yes,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
Things like this, and I guess we certainly have got some very similar habits together. I think it's something that we're forever evolving. So for you guys who are watching and listening in on this, really sort of take stock of where you're at and also identify areas that you're not so strong at and work on those. Don't just sort of play to yourself like, okay, I'm doing great over here and neglect the things you're not good at. As a martial artist, what do? We work on the areas that we're not so good at, not just our strength. So that's my challenge to you guys, that if there is an area in your life that you're not successful at, whether it be personal, business, whatever it may be, take some stock, take some time, put some attention on, and find the right people to help you develop that in a shorter amount of time.
Well, guys, we've had 4 amazing podcasts with Kyoshi Dave Kovar. And I always go out of my way to connect with Dave, and someone who has experience in areas of martial arts and business that, it's just amazing just to be around that type of person. I think we've spoken about it before, if someone's already doing what you want to do, align yourself with them. And, Dave, just any parting piece of advice for our viewers, listeners, watching here, and if you were going to give one sort of wise guru piece of advice,
well, now the pressure's on. Listen to these guys; they know what they're doing. They'll steer you in the right direction. That's what I would say.
Appreciate it. No problem. Thanks very much, Dave. And look, guys, if you've enjoyed these podcasts, please share them on. We just want to get the word out there. Help you build the business of your dreams, and also, at the end of the day, give yourself the life that you deserve.